Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode, I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film would become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 2. Hello, Podderoonies or Podsters if you prefer. We are back for part 2 of the podcast where we are talking R-rated comic book films 2, the sequel. And of course, you probably already know this is the part of the show where we have a look at your Instagram responses from the previous episode. And that previous episode was on George Clooney films. And Sam and Callum from One of Us is Bored went with Tomorrowland. Heather J. Stewart went with 3. She said she was very indecisive, but she went with Michael Clayton, The Ides of March, and Up in the Air. Anton Kinnerlove, a regular responder, went with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Very good film. I do like that one. A great Coen's comedy. The Double Take podcast went with Out of Sight. The Revisionist Almanac podcast went with, again, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Matt from the Matt and Mark Movie Show went with Out of Sight. Elle and Chris from Spoil My Movie went with Good Night and Good Luck. And What's Wrong podcast went with Out of Sight. I think that's all of them, yeah. Ooh. Leigh, I am intrigued. What is your George Clooney film of choice for you, sir?
Oh, yeah. It definitely has to be Spy Kids 3D.
Okay.
No, actually, if I was picking one that I always like his performance in would be the first Ocean's 11. That's the first one. Ocean's 12.
Oh, yeah. That was
Ocean's...
my guest pick, yeah. Thomas and Dana's choice, yeah, from the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast. Yeah, they went with that. Yeah, it's really good. I hadn't actually seen it before, weirdly, but yeah, it's a fun time.
Really?
Good heist film, yeah. It's just one of those where it just passed me by.
Yeah.
I have watched films, people. I feel like I say that a lot, but I have watched quite a lot.
Check my letterboxd.
Yeah. Yes. Check that. Plenty on there.
Yeah. No, if it's not it's actually I completely forgot you mentioned it in Tomorrowland. Now I know there was a few things wrong with Tomorrowland, but I did like him in that.
Yeah, I quite like that. Yeah, I think it's one of those that I don't think it's based off an IP. I don't think so. It's all from Brad Bird's own imagination.
I thought it was a ride. I thought it was a.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Oh,
I didn't. Yeah, I'd never heard of the IP of Tomorrowland. So I think maybe it did get quite a mixed reception. I think maybe just because I don't think people realized what it was and what they were really expecting, frankly, and because it's kind of got that retro sci-fi feel to it, hasn't it? So
yeah, and I
enjoyed it.
Yeah, it really did. It was a budget of 190 million, and its box office run ended on 209 million.
Yeah, bit of a flop.
Just a little bit. Probably the first Oceans.
Cool. Right, so it's my choice then for R-rated comic book films, and I am going with another guy with a big black leather jacket and a black American muscle car. That is 1998's Blade, starring Wesley Snipes, of course, as the titular character and the only Blade that will ever play the character.
One Blade, if there's ever going to be one Blade.
Which, of course, I can't believe they said that in
I know.
That was so daring. I was like, oh my god, they've gone there. Wow. I hope Mahershala Ali doesn't see this movie.
I think he understands at this point, sadly. So I think he fully understands. And the interview with Wesley Snipes, he was all on board doing it. He was like, yeah, I'm in. Say no more.
Let's do a third one, because let's be honest, let's pretend the third one didn't happen.
No.
Late Trinity. Yeah, I really like this film. I, again, like a lot of these kind of horror-esque films, I saw it very young, and I remember like the tagline one of the journalists said, there's enough blood in this film to re-raise the Titanic.
Oh, holy shit!
Yeah,
yeah, there is.
Yeah, it's quite bloody. Yeah, I loved it. Watching it again, I've seen it quite a few times, and watching it again, I just forgot how much I love this film, especially the action scenes and just how cool it is, how stylish it is. It's so freaking good, in my opinion. It's not a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure to watch. Directed by Stephen Norrington and written by David S. Goyer, who did the Nolan Batman films as well.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, other films in contention. Not many, really, because I was very close to picking this last time before I chose V for Vendetta, because I thought, that would be a really interesting one to compete with Logan, because I think Boaz went first with that one. So I was like, if I pick Blade, I'm probably not going to win, but with the it's not a slight on your choice.
I'm not going to win
just
this.
I really just wanted to talk about Blade because obviously Blade is in the zeitgeist at the moment with Deadpool and Wolverine, and I just it's such a cool character. He's Wesley Snipes has got so much charisma. It's off the chain. It's off the scale. Really, it's so good. So what happens in Blade? Well, a half vampire, half mortal man becomes a protector of the mortal race while saving evil vampires. That is very brief from IMDb. Basically, also a kind of like a rebel punk, non-pureblood vampire, Frost, played by Stephen Dorff, is basically trying to find these ancient texts, the Bible of the vampire world, and tries to resurrect the blood god. And Blade is obviously trying to stop that. And it all comes to a bit of a showdown at the end. Blade versus the blood god inside of Stephen Dorff. So, Leigh, initial reactions for you on Blade?
I have never actually watched this film in full. I've seen bits and pieces, but I've never actually. I remember Blade 2, I remember Blade Trinity, but never, unfortunately. But I don't remember why I haven't actually sat down in full and watched this. And I loved it. I loved it. Wesley Snipes is pure Wesley Snipes. And for me, the opening scene is everything. That is 100%. There's a shit ton of blood in this, but that opening scene, the music, everything that happens, you just need to show someone that scene, and that's it. That's blood.
I'm in.
I'm in. Say no more. And it's funny when you watch it, comparing this to Punisher, when you see something that's well written to the Punisher, and watching Blade, I'm so glad that we got him back in Deadpool Wolverine. The short list that those characters that we got Wesley Snipes, especially after his tax evasion problems. And it's well documented that this Blade is one of the reasons why Marvel's still going today, because Marvel filed for bankruptcy, but lucky enough, Blade was able to kick enough cash and keep them going, and it saved them.
Yeah, because that's the thing. When I watched this for the first time, I don't think they have the proper big red Marvel logo in the credits. When I watched this for the first time, it just didn't feel like a Marvel comic book hero at all. I just felt like I was just watching an action horror film. It's just an action vampire movie. That's it. I didn't even realize it was part of the Marvel universe. I didn't even realize it was a Marvel character at all when I watched it, really. Because as a kid, you're not really interested in just reading the credits. You're just okay, let's get into this now.
Let's go.
You know. So I was completely kind of oblivious, really. And you're right. It doesn't really have a Marvel-esque, as we know now, a Marvel-esque feel to it at all. It's very dark, quite violent at times. I mean, there's the whole thing where, Blade pops in Karen's shoulder and then Karen returns the favor later on. And that's quite that is a wincing moment if you ever want one in that film.
That scene where I gotta talk to you about that too later on.
Yeah. Let's break tradition for the podcast, and I'm going to talk about my favorite scene because it is the opening scene. I love the opening scene to this film so much. It's just the essence of 90s cool with added blood. I like the little subtle touches as the girl vampire is leading this human through this abattoir, and he notices these large hanging meats being trolleyed away.
Which would you follow it? Would you follow a woman going through something like that?
But what I liked about that though was the film does a great job of just giving you a very brief glimpse of what they look like. So from his perspective, it goes so quickly. So you're just oh, okay, that looked weird. Well, let's just move on, kind of thing. So I kind of like that aspect. You see, shapes of human bodies in them, but when we get in the nightclub, I love the mix of slow-mo and these stuttered flashes on some of the girl vampires as they're dancing away. I love the fact that the style and the pace of the direction doesn't have a real change when the blood comes pouring in. If not, the pace gets quicker.
The music is vibing.
Yeah, when the blood is pouring in from the sprinklers. I loved how the human kind of crawls through the crowd in panic on the floor, and the camera just pulls back to reveal Blade's boot. And I loved how the camera just starts to pan up his body, but then it cuts to the vampires getting ready to fight him. So you haven't seen his face yet. Then the reveal of his face is when the the crowd of vampires pull away slightly, and you can see him in full, but he barely moves. There's little move of his arm to open up his big coat. Such an amazing introduction to Blade. So cool.
Straight off the bat.
Then the action backs it up. The action backs up this great introduction scene. Super slick, and I especially love the shotgun choreography as well. I absolutely love the opening scene.
Was it when he tricks the chick? When he tricks the vampire girl, he's out of bullets, and he punches her down, shotgun straight up. Yeah.
That was cool. It's just a great idea as well. Just having a vampire nightclub, and you got blood coming out of the sprinklers. It's just a great idea. Yeah.
And they really they really play to Wesley Snipes' strength of him being a martial arts. With the sword or with the shotgun or with just his bare hands. You just feel every punch, every shot. It's just to everyone. Or what do you call it? Or double-sided blade.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, when he flings that thing in a circle and takes
them all
a few
out.
vampires' heads off. That was cool.
Yeah. I was trying to think double-sided blade. Maybe.
It's kind of like a hook thingy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very cool. I mean, it's very stylized, and obviously that's not really possible, if you look at it from a physics point of view, a logical point of view, but it's so stylish to that point, you don't really care. You're that was awesome. It establishes that tone and style before we get to that moment, so it's acceptable.
You don't have Tom Holland coming and go, that doesn't obey the laws of physics. Doesn't matter, it looks cool.
Yeah. The film is obsessed with burning vampires in this film.
Yep.
I think that's this film's thing to make it feel different from other vampire films. When Blade kills them, they just burn up to dust with those visual effects shots. But the end of that opening scene, Blade burns Quinn, Donald Logue, with a firebomb thing. That was cool. Then there's a great little jump scare moment in the hospital when he jumps up from the table when you think he's dead, which a fairly effective jump scare, not a great one, but okay. Then later when Blade and Karen meet Pearl, this massive fat vampire, Karen is very liberally burning him with the UV light as a method of torture. Yeah, I felt like she was getting into that a bit too much for me. I'm like,
okay, all right,
calm down.
Good. I was the other
He's
one.
dying.
when she was doing it, I was like, you're enjoying this a lot too much. And even Blade looks a bit like,
steady on, love.
Yeah. All right. You can't run away. You definitely can't run away.
Yeah, I know. You could roll away, maybe.
Yeah. You know what's funny? As soon as I saw that, all I thought it was Juice Bigelow. I was like, oh, that's a huge bitch. That's the first thing that popped in my head. I was like,
oh God. I think my favorite burning scene is from the bad guy Frost, when he captures one of the purebloods, Dragonetti, and he slowly burns him as the sun comes up
after he takes his teeth.
Yeah, and Frost humiliates him too by ripping his fangs out. Yeah, probably like the goriest death too. You can tell a lot of like the fleshiness of Dragonetti's burning body is real makeup design. Yeah. Not sure how he blows up, but I don't know. Maybe because he's a
I did
pure
like
blood.
That little touch.
Yeah. But just a great idea of how to kill a vampire, and also like just rubbing it in his face that he's never seen the beauty of a sunrise before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of burning vampires in this film.
A lot.
Do you like that sunrise scene rather?
I do. I do like how when he explodes, they seem to be a bit shocked too, because they all like, oh, like they all push back because they're not expecting that. But you're right, that is the goriest scene, because there are more bloodier ones or people that get really blotchy and explode, but just the melting, and they do show what like, I'm glad that they did show what happens when you see one of these vampires in daylight opposed to these mascara wearing vampires.
Yeah, because you assume that a lot of like Frost's crew are all turned vampires, so I think that I get the impression that you know, pure bloods maybe blow up. I don't know. Maybe that's just a stylistic choice. Or they just wanted someone to blow up. I'm not sure.
Yeah. You blow up.
You can read it like that, maybe. That if
and you just turn to dust.
If pure bloods burn, they blow up as well. They don't physically just, you know, burn to a crisp when Blade kills them with
this
silver.
Just writes itself. I love it.
But I like the fact that they're really playing with how to kill vampires as well. It's not always the same thing. So
no, we get like what 8 different ways to kill a vampire in the movie, between the stakes, between the syringes, between his sword with the spikes, the shotgun, the sun, and mace.
Garlic mace, yeah.
Garlic mace.
I don't think they kill anyone with that, and obviously the serum at the end.
Yeah, just
the exploding serum. Yeah. They're obsessed with fat vampires as well. Like they have to make the vampires extremely huge before they blow up as well.
Yeah. I mean, what that made me think of? That made me think of Total Recall. When
yes,
outside, they sort of like you look like you've got no oxygen. You're about to burst, which they all do. And I did like the vampire. It's like, I got his sword. How cool is this? Split. Gone. And I would say, I think, besides Wesley Snipes, I think Quinn was my MVP from this.
Oh, yeah. Donald Logue.
It's like, I got both my hands back. And even Frost is like, all right, hold out your hand. Hold out your hand. I'm not going to really cut it now, you man. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that joke, but like, I did enjoy like the running joke of Donald Logue's hands being chopped off. That was cool. But like with Donald Logue and Blade, not so much Donald Logue and Frost. You just lose a bit of the threatening quality of Frost with that. But anyway,
Frost, just like for me, I'm like, you just got a face you want to punch. Like you just want to so much.
With that annoying hair as well.
Yeah, annoying hair, slick back.
Great 90s villain.
Yeah, 100%. No, and that's the thing is even with the CGI is that a little bit iffy. It still holds up now to a degree.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, because obviously you have that moment in the final scene where Blade chops him in half, and you got the blood kind of like puts him back together. That was the only moment where I was just like, it's not great, but because the rest of the film is so good, for me, you can get away with that even now in 2024.
all the bursting fire vampires was fine.
Oh yeah. When they kind of burn into ash, that still looks pretty good to me. So.
Yeah, and I did love how like they go into a lot more of the lore of like the branding, the familiar, like stuff that we do know. If you didn't watch Blade, you basically know the basic stuff about vampires, but at least it gives you a little bit more and more on how vampires would work in the real world today. Like they need a blood bank or they need this, they have to transport it. Of course, they own the police.
Yeah, all that stuff with the world building is really kind of subtly done and doesn't distract too much from the whole, the main story. And yet it kind of, the whole world of the vampires, it is kind of part of the story as a whole anyway, with Frost's story, his whole motivation. I quite like the fact that the film goes for only like two really good big action set pieces, like the opening and the end. Like everything in between is just fairly short, but it all feels like it's part of the story and servicing the story and just trying to put, the flair and style in where they can, but it's got to like fit to the story, which I really appreciate. Like, with the Punisher, you feel like as we said, like the best action scene was like in the first half of the film, like, and the last action scenes aren't as good. Whereas I think with this script,
both
with these action scenes, they just feel perfectly placed.
Both are a different action scene that play their strengths, but both are intense. Like the sword fight at the end with Blade and Frost, and like it just looks like that something's been sped up, but I bet you it's not. But even that scene just looks so good and intense.
Yeah,
to watch.
I think like everything in the middle, as I said, is very good and services the story. But I guess there is an occasion when you think they are kind of running out of ideas with the direction, where some of the action scenes have this classic technique of briefly seeing a character in the distance or a close-up, and they go quickly across the camera. Then all of a sudden we see them when it's too late. You have that in the kind of the archive ancient scrolls room with the little girl vampire. And then later when Frost and co find Whistler in his hideout, that's a minor gripe, but I just like the fact that the film doesn't try and fit another big action scene set piece in there and have like the last or the opening scenes fall flat, like in the Punisher, which often happens, which is a shame sometimes, but yeah.
No, I agree. And I think the pace of the film, we got the intense action, we got the nice slow moments, but it does fit all together going through the movie. Like not once did I go, oh, this is a bit slow. Well, that doesn't fit in going into this. I'm like, nah, and like the humor just fits with Wesley Snipes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Are you out of your damn mind?
The last scenes are really good for me. Like great grand production design in this kind of ancient chamber. I love the fact that it just feels very grand. I like it when Blade is like drinking Karen's blood and it's almost like they're having sex.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, I thought that too. I'm like, if Maddie walked in, she'd be like, what the hell are you watching? I'm like, that's a really intense blood-sucking scene. That
the way Blade is doing it is quite aggressive with her and... and she's moaning a lot, and it's very passionate act for me.
She says, she's like, keep going. I'm like, what's going to happen at the end?
But it didn't. But what's great about that? It didn't feel funny or anything. You're very, you're very much in it. You're very much like, You feel the intensity. You feel the intensity of it, and it's intercut with like the blood dripping. It's intercut with the blood dripping down like the vampire symbols in the main chamber, and the blade sucking scene takes over until he screams out, and then you have like the quiet drop of blood on Frost's forehead. So it's kind of a very good contrast of pace there. Then I suddenly loved the way these like winged vampire soul skeletons pull themselves out of the 12 purebloods by their mouths. Sick. I thought that was really a great touch. Then it gets awesome when Blade like kills Quinn Donald Logue so quickly with a wire, and he catches his shades, and the music kicks in with a long panning shot on Blade. Just ridiculously cool in that moment. You're like, okay, things are about to kick off.
Yeah. Now you're reversing a vampire god.
Yeah. Then the action that follows is good. Not as good as the opening, I don't think, but when Blade and another vampire are just doing spinning kicks and just kicking air, that was kind of funny. I would also say the choreography is better with the vampire goons compared to the main fight with Blade and Frost. You know, it's very basic sword play with him and Frost, but it gets a bit silly with Frost becoming a super vampire ninja, but also an awesome way to kill him by throwing up like the last vial of serum, then kicks it in his forehead and says, "Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill."
Yeah, actually that is one of the saved lines I got here, the quote, so I was like...
It's the saved line. It's my favorite line. I'm saying that now. Yeah, some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. Just one of my favorite lines of all time, frankly. It's so kind of random. Yeah, but so kind of epic and awesome. Yeah.
Like, have you ever heard anyone say that to you? Like, have you heard anyone ever use that type of cliche ever? Like, just a badass moment when I thought of it, like, you're not going to throw it, you're going to kick it, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then, boom.
It's so slickly done as well by Stevie Norrington with the direction as well. So good. What do you make of that whole kind of action scene as a whole in that last act?
I loved it. I liked how the fact that regardless of Vampire God, like Blade can still hold his own. And as I said before, the sword fight I thought was probably one of the coolest moments. And I said besides the slight ages of the CGI, how he cuts him in half and the blood puts him back together, that's fine. But it's not as intense, I'd say, as the blood shower scene. It's funny how I'm saying that, but it is. You get really excited when those two go head to head. You're like, finally go kill this motherfucker, and it didn't seem to I felt like the fight was also well deserved, as we've seen in multiple different movies where we finally get the two main hero and villain together, and it's either like a really short fight, and you're like, oh, or it's like a really long drawn out. You're like, well, you probably could chop this up in like 20 minutes. No, I thought it was well deserved, both of them going head to head, and it's funny. He didn't even kill him with anything silver. It was his own serum.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. I think, as I said, I prefer like the all the choreography when he's just fighting the normal vampires before he gets to Stephen Dorff Frost. But I think it definitely borders that line of being too silly. But I feel like all that stuff is earned by that point in the film, with him basically being a vampire god ninja or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But yeah, I quite like the fact that they don't like overblow the CGI with that and don't make him into this kind of crazy CGI design. He's just got like red eyes really, and he just looks more like intense with his action. And I think Stephen Norrington does just a great job of making him feel a lot more dangerous just with the camera. Not like
The Rock and the Mummy 2.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But he feels a lot more like dangerous, yet you still kind of have this late 90s style to it, which is really cool. But yeah, I think I would definitely prefer the opening scene. Is that your favorite scene as well?
I'd say the opening scene would be my favorite. Just the music, the vibe, the action that we get. And, if you were... Like, as I said before, if you want to encapsulate a character in one scene, or if you don't, who's Blade? This would be what I would show. Like, this is Blade to a T.
Yeah. Directing score, Leigh. What are you going for Blade?
Blade, I'll give it a 7.8.
Okay. Cool.
I'll give it 7.8 on that.
Yeah, I think also I'll mention that because, as you say, like Marvel were kind of in trouble before this film. You felt like they didn't have the pressure of like adapting it like properly from the comics.
No.
I mean, I don't really know the comics of Blade that well at all, really, but it just feels like its own thing. And I feel like they just didn't have that pressure, and Stephen Norrington and Wesley Snipes could just do what they wanted and just make a really kick-ass action film with vampires and really go in hard with the Wesley Snipes martial art aesthetic that we're used to with his films. Yeah, with added blade and blood, and you just feel like everyone's having a great time, and it just feels very assured and epic and just so cool, just so stylish. And
there's so many cool scenes in this entire movie. And you're right, it's funny when you look at it, and when people compare, guys, look at Thor 4, look at Ant-Man 3, and you're like, so much studio interference, and then it's funny, like you pull back.
They feel overindulgent for sure.
Yeah. And then you watch Blade, and like, this is what happens when you have a clean slate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Logan, clean slate.
Yes, I think in the middle sometimes I think it's very creative and very efficient with its action and the direction to service the story. But yeah, I think they just use that one technique. The character in the background or close up just whizzing past the camera like too much. But other than that, I think it's really well done, and it gives me that amazing feeling of just like, oh, this is awesome. So for that, I will give it like an 8.2, I think. Yes, the end, as we said, it borders that line of being a bit too silly, but it's still very satisfying. 8.2 for me.
Well, it's still like I'm pretty sure you also look at like top vampire movies, and Blade's like the top 5 off the bat straight away.
Oh yeah. Screenplay then. It's interesting with the story around Karen, the doctor that Blade saves. It's almost a moment of compassion from Blade to save her when he really shouldn't, when he really should be killing her to stop her from becoming a vampire. But you get these like great little flashes of his mother that reminds Blade of her. So he saves Karen, but you can definitely tell that he might regret it. But when they let her go, we follow her for a while, and you think these two vampires in this elevator might jump her and kill her. But it ends up being this cop who's a human working for the vampires. That's kind of really interesting in itself. And Blade was just using her as bait to find a lead to find Frost, which is a cool idea, but I feel like the whole emotion around her looking and reminding Blade of his mother goes by the wayside, which is a little bit of a shame. Then you feel like Karen is just there to work on this cure for vampirism, but just comes up with an exploding vampire serum. But then the film surprises you when Blade discovers his mother was turned by Frost himself and is very loyal to Frost. So then, like, all of a sudden, Blade's whole motive of why he's killing vampires because of his mother's death is in question at this moment. It genuinely feels like a tough decision for Blade to kill his mother at the end. So I quite liked how the structure of his mother's memories are kind of fading away as we go through the film until boom, she's just right there and he needs to make a decision and he ends up killing her. And it feels really tough. Yeah. It's a great little kind of emotional arc for Blade in this film for me.
All the way up to that point, like even when he does kill her, you're a bit like,
it's
so rough.
It kind of hurts, because
it's the opening scene.
As soon as she appears out of this very kind of very stylish bed that kind of is revealed by coming into the roof or whatever. You're like, she's with Frost.
Straight
What's
away.
Blade gonna do?
Because she's the opening scene. Like we see her before Blade.
Yeah. So you automatically think like this is a very painful moment for Blade. His mother is the driving force of what he's doing. So
and now you're just Frost's bitch.
Yeah, because Blade could have easily maybe just knocked her out or captured her, got Karen to capture her, and then worked on the cure, worked on the serum to cure her own vampirism, maybe. But yeah, so it's a real interesting and tough decision for Blade of just like, nah, I'm not going to bother with that. I just need to kill her. I need to just get her memory out of my mind now. Like, it's gone bad. Because obviously Blade never knew her mother, really, I guess, because he assumed she died, so...
Well, it looked like it in the scene, too. It looked like she died. It says that she's gone. And, it's because of his mother that he's doing his mission and why he saved Karen. Which, again, Karen becomes his responsibility because she's about to turn to a vampire, which takes a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So... Yeah, I quite like that little emotional arc for Blade. I really liked Frost as the villain here. He sort of represents this kind of punk 90s feel the film is set in. Like, what I liked about him is that he's just like a normal vampire that's been turned. He's not like a vampire that's of any high standing from a respected vampire house. Like the noble vampires, if you will, just want peace and to stay hidden. Of course, they want Blade dead, but don't really try and kill him. Frankly, there's no effort to do that. No. Whereas Frost has ambition. He does not give a fuck about vampire hierarchy. He just wants everyone to be a vampire. And I quite like that line from him near the end where he says, it wouldn't matter who's pure blood and who's not. Yeah, so I just quite like the fact that he's not like a particularly special vampire. He's just a vampire with ambition.
Well, he says it in that first scene where we meet him with the rest of the vampires, where he's like, why are we hiding from our food? They're just food. And then later on gets like, it's just cattle, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely brings off this very cold feeling, whereas like the noble vampires just want peace and just calm down, Frost. Yeah. Gonna get everyone killed.
Like a spoiled rich kid.
Yeah.
With daddy's money. Just relax. We don't want to do anything. And then what you're doing, you're having your vampire showers.
Yeah. So I quite like that dynamic, the fact that between Frost and the noble vampires, the fact that the noble vampires see Frost as a threat as well as Blade that threatens their peace, and
he does win because he does kill all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, kill all of them now, as I say that, because there is Blade 2 and Blade 3.
Oh yeah, of course. But so I just quite like the fact that the vampire is nothing special. Frost is wanting to become something special. That's the whole his whole like motivation. So because I feel like in a lot of vampire film, like pulpy or just monster films, the villain, it's always the classic thing of the villain with power just wants more power, whereas
I want to rule
Frost,
the world.
Frost doesn't really have much power, really. He's just doing diligent research to gain his power, whereas a lot of the noble vampires, they have power already and they're kind of happy with it.
Yeah, they don't want anything to change. That scene when you do see the computer researching. That scene, I was a bit like, damn, that really shows you how old this film is. Yeah. It's just by that computer.
Yeah. Maybe the noble vampires just didn't have any tech skills at all to research the vampire gods.
No. At all, he does say that because they said it's like old text and you won't even understand it. It's long and forgotten. Because he says, even these guys forgot this chamber. I'm like, how do you forget a giant chamber like this about a vampire god?
Yeah. But I think that, again, that just plays into the fact that the nobles are just very content with their life, content with the peace that they've got. They can get blood when they want without any fuss.
Yeah, it's he's a villain that's almost like, I always compared to Thanos, but it's like, I get it. Like, it makes sense on what you're trying to do. It's not just a pure, I want to rule the world, I want to rule the galaxy, I want fame and rich and money.
I really liked Blade as a character in this film in terms of his abilities and his weaknesses. So he's basically this anomaly that, you know, his mother was bitten while being pregnant with him. So he has all of a vampire's strengths and none of their weaknesses, hence being called the Daywalker. But what makes Blade really interesting is that Blade still has the thirst for blood like any other vampire. So it's quite a common theme in vampire films, I would say. But in this one, the serum that Blade takes to suppress his thirst is starting to not work anymore.
Yeah, because it's taking too much.
Yeah. So there's this element of unpredictability about Blade towards the end. You know, will Blade succumb to feed on people for his thirst for blood and strength and become potentially very dangerous to everyone? You know, every human or vampire? Or will, he help Karen to make a better serum to cure his thirst, but will end up being a normal human with that? You know, they don't play on that too much, but when Blade is sucking Karen's blood at the end, you feel like you get an answer to that question a little bit. You know, Karen is basically making a decision for him that could turn her fully into a vampire to save Blade, to save the world. So there's a really interesting dynamics going on here with a common vampire theme of the addiction of sucking blood. So I quite like the fact that this is not just a straight up horror action film. There's kind of real nuance here, and they're not forgetting kind of the main themes of a vampire film that you often get. It's nothing special that a lot of say Let the Right One In goes into, of course not, but I love the fact that they don't really forget those core vampire ideas in a action film.
Yeah, and well, not to mention the fact that the core thing about what makes Blade different to the rest of vampires, the rest of humans, and why he's been so popular in the comics.
Yeah,
now trading that line between becoming a full vampire, being the hero of the day.
Absolutely.
And that he does have those same urges and those same struggles, which they do mention at the end of the movie. He's like, help me, we're gonna get it, we're gonna get them. And after he does suck Karen's blood intensely, he's raring to go. He looks 100% like he hasn't phased at all.
Absolutely. It's so well done for me in terms of that aspect. Also, just a very random end in Moscow, but I loved it. Yeah. I mean, it has no relation to Blade 2 at all, I don't think. I haven't seen Blade 2 in a while, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't got anything to do with Blade 2.
No, I don't think it does either. Not to mention, at first, I thought it was the guy that blew up. I was like, okay, maybe he didn't actually blow up properly. And then I was like, oh, no, you're a completely different guy. I'm like, okay. All right. We get there's vampires everywhere and definitely in Moscow, and Blade speaks Russian, comrade.
Yeah. Yeah. It did feel random, but there was enough style to it that I think it gets away with it. I think just about.
Yeah. 100%. The entire, from both the writing to me, the writing and the direction for this, there wasn't really any moments that I was a bit as I said before, a bit rough or didn't fit. You get the tone that you get from that opening scene pretty much sets the whole thing. Oh, that's right. I was going to say the one scene I thought was when he throws Karen out the window.
Oh yeah.
And you watch her, she lands, but then she falls on the concrete and keeps moving. I'm like, nah, bitch, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
Not just a dislocated shoulder.
Yeah, that's the one scene that it stretches reality a little bit. I was just like,
No, you just.
I'm not sure about that. Especially as she's not a vampire at that moment. Well, she's not turning. So
no, it's like really. She just landed on the thing and stayed there. She falls off and rolls. I'm like, nah, she's dead.
In that moment, I'm just like, what the hell's he doing? He just lobbed her across skyscrapers.
I know you're half dead, but this is not going to hurt.
Yeah. But I mean, there was a nicely placed set of boxes with a sheet over it, so maybe that's fine. I don't know.
But perfectly happened to be there.
But yeah, that's how they kind of make up for that kind of ridiculous scene, is by having her shoulder dislocated.
Yeah.
We've run out of makeup effects for her whole body to be scarred up. So let's just do her shoulder popping back in.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Of course it's going to happen if you get thrown over a giant building.
Yeah, but I mean, Blade's got to look cool when he does his own jump. He can't be having anyone. He can't be carrying Karen while he jumps. He's got to do it by himself. He's got to look cool. Of course.
Need the action shot, man.
Yeah. Funny lines, interesting lines in that nightclub scene with the pouring blood from the sprinklers. One of the vampires says, "What's wrong, baby? Hiss." That was funny.
Probably one of the favorite lines is, "Well, yeah, motherfucker, are you damn mind?" And I had the ice skating one as well.
Oh, when the cop shoots him in his bulletproof chest.
Yeah, when he shoots him. It's like, "Hey, motherfucker, are you damn mind?" I'm like, "I'm here to help you."
Yeah, that was funny. No, I like the one from Karen and Blade's response when he says, when they're talking about, everything that's just happened after Blade saved her, and he says, "I'm supposed to believe all this? Well, you already met Mr. Crispy at the hospital."
Yeah, I know. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, who still comes back.
I kind of love how Blade just gives no fucks sometimes in this film. Oh. He's just very on mission, very focused.
Is that Blade or Wesley Snipes?
Oh, it's Wesley Snipes, definitely. Where he's like, where Karen is like, "Wait a minute, you use me as bait? Get over it."
Yeah, get over it. Yeah. That was good. And that's the end of that conversation too. She just moves on.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Yeah. Well, you got me there.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah. Those were the two top lines I had, and get over it.
Yeah. There are worse things out than vampires. Like what? Like me.
Me. Yeah. That was a good one too. What'd that remind me of? I think it's Nightmare on Elm Street, where the guy's like, "Oh God," like, "No, just me."
Yeah. I need to watch that again. Yeah, Halloween coming up, people.
That's true. I went to the shops today, and I already started seeing everything: Halloween gear, and just behind it, Christmas gear.
Oh yeah, we get Christmas stuff in August, mate.
I know.
We really do.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
Another great, just blunt one from straight to the point from Blade. Blade is talking about Whistler, and Karen says, "You have a lot of love for him, don't you? We have a good arrangement. Yeah. He makes the weapons, I use them."
It's like, "Oh, it made you the UV light. Can't you make it lighter?"
Yeah. Yeah, and of course my favourite is, "Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill." Always going to be my favourite. Screenplay score, Leigh, what are you going for?
I give it an 8.3.
8.3? Cool.
Yeah, I think nothing seemed too cringy as they said it, or you're like, "Oh, that doesn't fit too much." But then again, as we've just pretty much quoted for the entire thing, is 90% of the best lines are from Blade.
Oh, yeah. He's really cool. Yeah, I really like this script, actually, because it's not just a straight-up action film. There is some nuance here, and there's a lot of stuff going on, certainly between Blade and Karen with the serum, and, and Blade has this dilemma with his mother. Does he want to use the cure? Maybe they could have played on that a little bit more. I'm not sure, and again, I feel like the film does a great job of giving Blade some compassion, and because you have that little scene in the archive room where he's trying to find this little girl, and yet that's how he gets captured, by the noble vampires, by Frost's crew rather. There's vulnerability there.
Which the little girl is a badass in that.
Oh yeah, because he kicks him in the chest. Yeah, he gives him a right kick in the chest. But yeah, there's some compassion. There's definitely some vulnerability to Blade, and you don't feel like he's always going to get out alive. You feel like every action scene is fucking hard for him to win in every moment. So, because you get that real sense that it's just him and Whistler and a little bit of Karen's help, and that's it. They're alone.
Yeah, that's Yeah, because I think you said there were others. We were like, there's nobody else in this entire thing. It's only you three.
Yeah, it just feels very focused. There's not a lot of baggage here. Yeah, it's really, really good. And as I said, like they focus on the core vampire themes of the thirst for blood as well, with this very unique comic book character. And I think everything is mixed in very well. Yeah, I don't think it does anything particularly special in terms of that, in terms of the whole thirst for blood theme. But I like the fact that they are really trying to do something a little bit different with that in a comic book sense. So yeah, I think I'll go like a straight 8. I think.
All right, it's interesting because you're watching this, and I'm a bit like, how is Marvel going to pull this off? Like, I'm pretty sure I think the Blade movie is meant to be an R-rated movie. They're meant to go in the same direction as Deadpool, Wolverine, but I'm like, this Blade movie has set the bar so high.
Yeah. And obviously Blade 2 is very good as well, I would say. Yeah, I hope we do get one from Mahershala Ali, because I think it's just great casting as well. He has that sort of, that same Wesley Snipes charisma, I think, that same sense of cool. We covered a Mahershala Ali film in the past this year. I can't remember what it's called now, but he has that same sense of cool in that film, and I think he's perfect casting. It just depends on whether he can do the action stuff really like Wesley Snipes, so that would be really interesting whether he can do that, but who knows?
They need to, because it's I really hope they get the Blade movie off the ground.
I hope so. I really hope so. So acting then. I like the little bit of acting from Wesley Snipes when he brings back Karen after she's been bitten to their hideout, and he puts her on the table and whispers like, "You should have killed her." And Blaze says, "Yeah, I know, but I didn't." It's very simple and a bit of a hand wave to service the plot, but Snipes is great because he knows he's broken the rules and just looks pissed off at himself and is showing us vulnerability pretty early on in this film. So it just makes you root for this character even more, because obviously she reminded Blade of his mother. So
his mother.
Yeah, I think there's definitely tiny bits of nuance from Wesley Snipes where you can, see the emotion coming through for me.
Oh, I think the other emotion would be when he's about to kill his mother.
Oh yeah,
you feel that from Wesley Snipes that he's going to do that. I think you feel on that note, and probably the other scene I would say that you felt was, I guess it's a little bit acting, but like when Frost is talking to him, and you can see how dazed and confused he is because he needs a serum or he needs blood, and he's a bit out of it, yet still gives him a one-liner.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all that kind of stuff is hard to do when, he is completely drained of blood and stuff, and sometimes that's difficult to look convincing, especially in a film like this. So, and even from Wesley Snipes with all the action stuff, all the hand-to-hand combat, that's really impressive from him. You don't often get like a lot of these Jean-Claude Van Damme style kind of action in films and make them look really good. I know like Stephen Norrington does a great job to service Wesley Snipes in those scenes, but I think Wesley Snipes has enough snappiness and style to him that he makes it work completely, and he just oozes natural charisma and coolness. 90s cool for sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's 100% pure Snipes.
He doesn't have to do much. He recognizes that he doesn't have to do much to look fucking awesome.
No, that's right.
Yeah. He just has this great ability to not try very hard. He has this great ability to make it look easy, which is an amazing quality to have in action films like this.
Well, that's the thing is, like, Wesley Snipes is one of those rare people, same with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnie, with them, we don't get that much of an action hero that has all those skills, have all those martial arts skills and looks so good doing it. Like, the same thing, but the last person I can think of is Henry Cavill. Like, usually his action scenes are very intense. I wouldn't say Tom Cruise.
Yeah, no. Well, he does crazy stunts, so.
but not martial arts like this.
That's where he gets his intensity because he's just coming up with crazy ideas.
Oh no, he won't be happy until he dies on film.
Probably. I love the little scene where Whistler has got like Blade tied down in a chair, and I love the little bit where like Whistler.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Where Whistler sort of rams the gum shield down his throat, and Wesley Snipes gives him like a little wry look, saying, "I hate you right now, but I know this has to be done."
Yeah.
Then when like Whistler gives him the blood straight in the neck, you know, Snipes is amazing, like straining his body and really trying to like lose control. Very convincing for me. Yeah, great little scene of acting from Snipes.
That was good. I would say also with Quinn. I thought Quinn. I thought all his acting was good. To me he was the unsung MVP of the movie.
Yeah, I mean he's the classic like bad guy sidekick kind of thing that brings a lot of the comedy. Again, has a lot of like 90s punk to him, and yeah, Donald Logue definitely going for it, and yeah, very convincing with his comedy with the whole you know, hand getting chopped off gag, the running gag there. That was good. Yeah. But again, he felt dangerous as well. Like, give him credit. Like when he's got like the crispy suit on,
yeah,
he feels dangerous. So yeah.
Oh, and when they have Blade captured, rides a stake straight at him, takes the punches at him, and you know, like I will try to F you up when it's on my side. But no, sorry, the scene I was thinking about was very similar to with when Whistler was dying. That conversation between Whistler and Blade when he was about to die.
Oh, yeah. That was good from both of them, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, sorry. I started writing my notes and then I've like written something else in between. I'm like, what was I trying to write? I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that when Whistler's just like Chris Christopherson is like to him, just walk away, you know, and you can really see Snipes really trying to hold back whatever emotion is trying to come through, you know. It's not like amazing because I've seen that sort of stuff done a lot better, but give Snipes credit that he's trying that sort of thing, and you know, it's passable.
Yeah, no,
it's still pretty good.
I think so. And I do feel bad for Chris Christopherson's name as well. I feel like that's so lazy. Like, what are you going to call him? Chris. Our last name's Christopherson. Don't worry, it means he'll never forget it. Yeah. And let's also spell it the same way.
Yeah. Favorite performance for you? Silly question.
Favorite performance will be Wesley Snipes. My second will be Donald with Quinn. And probably, actually, no, I'd probably say Deegan. I'd say Frost. Stephen, he'd be my second because he did play a good baddie for the film.
Yeah, as you say, I think he's just a great baddie where you just love to hate him. Just like, that guy just needs a punch in the face.
Yeah. You?
Yeah, Wesley Snipes for sure. I think I'll probably go Stephen Dorff second. Acting score for you, Leigh. Who are you going for?
I'll give it a 8.7.
8.7? Okay.
8%. When we compare it to Punisher, it's like, everyone like really came to the party on this.
Yeah. I'll probably go a little bit lower just because like the acting is good. I don't think there's anything special here at all. No, but I mean, again, like Wesley Snipes is just doing Wesley Snipes thing, you know. He's just the essence of cool. He doesn't have to do much to look cool. He is fucking Blade.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's born to play this character, really. Everyone else is fine, you know. There's no like there's no scene where you're like, oh, the acting was amazing there. Some maybe with his mum at the end, but yeah, so I'll go like a 7.7, I think.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I thought you were going to say his best acting was when he took Karen's blood. The raw emotion.
Yeah. Right, let's add up the scores then for Blade.
And it also makes me want to go watch Blade 2 because I know Chris Christopherson's also in that 2 and 3. Yeah. And I was like, I can't remember how you came back. And obviously the second one, you got good old Ron Perlman. Pretty sure Blade also made a decent paycheck too. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Blade was only on a budget of 45 million and it made 131 million dollars at the box office.
Blade gets a very respectable 48.7. So, quite frankly, blows the Punisher out of the water.
Pretty much.
Stabbed right through the head. Head chopped off. Next episode, as Smile 2 is out, we'll be talking horror sequels 2. I know that sounds confusing, but we have done a horror sequels episode in the past, which I think was The Evil Dead 2 versus Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining. So we'll be going back to horror sequels. And we'll have a new guest for that week. The brilliantly titled Bucket Full of Chum podcast.
He's great.
Oh, you know him?
Just like, when everyone's like, oh, you need to niche down for like your content. He's niched it down to what his content is, and then I listen to some of his reviews. I'm like, you love this so much.
Cool. Do check that one out. It should be awesome. Leigh, you have been amazing as always. This is your opportunity again to talk about your podcast. And where can we find you, sir?
As always, my podcast is Lights, Camera, Rant. You can find us on every single platform you can think of. Reddit, even the dark web, you can find us. Don't look for anything particular, but you can find us. And on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that's Lights, Camera, Rant, and look up Mr. Rant.
Cool. Right. It's time to say goodbye, people. I know it's very sad. Very sad. It's goodbye from Leigh. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
And it's goodbye from me. I'm going to get myself a big, oversized leather jacket, black leather jacket, and a black American muscle car. And look 90s cool. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Cool. See ya.
That's it for part 2. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so already. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.